Assalamu alaikum, this is TSF, and we're gathered here for a very special podcast, which is Harry Potter movie versus books. Now, according to the rule of thumb, of course, books are always better. But of course, movies do tend to do a few things that we kind of like that may not have been described as much as in the books. So we'll start off from the first book and we'll go all the way down to the seventh one. So, joining me is, of course, Sabeen and Kanza, who are representing their respective houses, which is Hufflepuff and Gryffindor. Meanwhile, I am being a squib that with my attire. So, we'll start off with the first book, guys. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Like many of us had our introduction to reading in general because of that book. And then, of course, there was the movie as well, which was equally quite exciting if you think about it. Like, probably the only movie that did a little bit justice to the book, if you think about it. Of course, it had its moments missed out. So, Kanza, first of all, you tell us, what did you think about the book and what did you think about the movie?
I mean, the first book, Philosopher's Stone, was a childhood favorite of mine. It still is. I grew up reading that. It is still a comfort book for me and a series I definitely go back to once a year. The movies are the same. I watch them every year around New Year's time. So I'm like very close right to the edge of watching the extended versions very soon. I mean, we do have a few differences, kind of like how we didn't have Peeves in this movie.
That's a
that's a
major
whole
one.
thing. That's a whole thing. I
That's a
mean,
very
imagine
major
Voldemort
thing.
facing Peeves. That would have been something I would have killed to see. But there's like a lot of little stuff as well. Like we don't have the mention of Sirius Black in the movie when Hagrid shows up on the bike. But what do you guys think? I mean, like, what else do you think was missing from the books?
I mean, what do you think?
Okay, so yes, Peeves was like the biggest point that we all missed out on from the books to the movies translation, because again, he shows up in nearly every book, and in quite a few parts in some of his appearances, he makes quite an impact. Like, I'm jumping ahead, but when the Weasley twins leave in the fifth movie after attacking Umbridge with their pranks, and then they tell her, give her hell from us, Peeves. Like, that's probably, I think, the first time any of the characters, not just Harry, would have seen Peeves taking orders from a student. Because before that, from the very first movie, when the first years are showing up, and McGonagall is the only one that McGonagall and the Bloody Barons, sorry, they're probably the only ones that Peeves listens to. So that's one. And one thing, again, this is me being nitpicky, but in the movies, when Draco and Harry meet for the first time, just before the sorting ceremony, in the movie, that's what happens in the movie. But in the books, they meet when they're getting fitted for their robes in Diagon Alley. And it's actually a pretty decent meeting between the two of them. Like, it's actually almost respectful. Like, Draco's being nice, Harry's being nice. There's no enmity between them. They don't know each other. They're just two 11-year-old kids just getting pinched and poked by needles and getting new clothes. And I don't know, maybe it could have been a friendship, but we never see it happen. Like, in the books, even they become enemies, but in the movie, it's completely not there. It could have had a completely different impact, even in the movies.
True.
So,
Although
again, that's
just although just to sort of
the
like
giant squid. I'm sorry,
the giant
I don't
squid.
think the
Yes.
giant squid. Like in I think fourth year, we see it interacting with Colin Creevy's younger brother Dennis when they're coming across the lake, and he fell in the lake and
he puts him back up
he got put
right
back
there.
in the boat. Yeah, even the squid
I
is
love how
missing.
there were so many theories about the giant squid in the lake. Like, it wasn't magical or anything. It was probably
It was
Hagrid
just
being
an
like,
NPC.
so I found a squid.
It was just Hagrid being Hagrid.
Hagrid was like, okay, I found a snake. I found a
okay,
squid. What am I supposed to do?
No, that's true. Although,
Yeah.
coming to that point about Draco's meeting up and everything, the thing is, of course,
Mm.
as when you're translating a book into the film, so you have to sort of
Yeah.
check which are the substantial like character development moments
Mm.
and which ones like sort of define like, okay, this is a stepping stone. Now, of course, Malfoy meeting up Harry in Madame Malkin's shop might not have been like one of those moments which would have like made for something, but the interaction that they
But,
have before the
yeah.
Sorting Hat, that sort of
Yeah.
signifies like, okay, they're gonna be rivals, and not just because of the
But
sake
here's
of
the
being
thing.
rivals.
No, but here's the thing. Like after Half Blood Prince, they tried to bring Malfoy on a redemption arc. So I don't know. Maybe it's just me being nitpicky again. But if they had shown like something of a maybe a small like non non-threatening meeting between the two of them way in the start,
Way in the
and then
start.
maybe by the seventh or eighth movie we could have had like a redemption for Draco. So it would be like, yeah, okay, he was sort of good before, then he went bad, and now he's coming back to the good.
And even during the scene in the book, from what I remember,
Hmm.
is that Draco was still being a little bit
Spoiling.
annoying about a
He
few
was being
things and a little
pompous,
spoily,
a
and
spoiled little
Harry was
brat.
just like, what is going on here? I just wanted to get a cloak and a world that I have no idea anything about.
Yeah.
True.
He was being like a spoiled little pompous kind of brat, but again, yeah,
Yeah, and
he,
another
he wasn't
detail.
hostile. He wasn't outright hostile to Harry.
Hmm. And
That
another
is
detail
true.
that is probably was missing in the movie, which I would have really liked, because it sort of solidified Hermione's character as being like that
Mm.
genius level intellect and all that. So we know that Harry goes through the puzzles set by each teacher,
Yes.
and we don't
Hmm.
get to see Snape's puzzle. And Snape's puzzle
Yeah.
was the
Yes.
hardest because
Supposedly.
it's the final frontier before they
Yeah.
enter. And
Hmm.
while I really do agree that we also didn't get the troll that was supposedly Quirrell's
Yes.
protection. We didn't get that.
Hmm.
Yes.
So
We did
but
not.
I can understand, of course, that might have been just like their way of subliminally going like, okay, we don't want to give it away altogether. So but Snape's puzzle should have been there, which sort of solidified Hermione as being that genius intellectual person. And
Hmm.
with a movie, you can make a lot of creative freedom with that.
That
So
is
Yeah.
true.
that is the only thing.
Because like if you think about it, we got to see different characteristics of all three of them. We were supposed to get all three of the characteristics. I mean, we got Ron with the chess, where he was shown being loyal and supportive by taking over a chess piece. Then we saw Harry with his flying skills and everything. We should have gotten a little something about Hermione with
Yeah,
her
and
potions and everything.
because Hermione is obviously she's the smartest one. She's the bookworm. She knows everything. She would probably even read the seventh year books in her first year if she had the chance. But the very little bit of her intellect that we see is in the movie is like Devil's Snare. That one, no,
But
Yes.
even then,
like
Ron sort of helps her.
Ron showed more intelligence in the chess set than she did in her scene with the Devil's Snare.
True,
That
true.
is true.
But all in all, movie did have some really good moments. Like for example, the Quidditch match, which was really well done in the movie.
That is
The
true.
troll fight was also like, you have to think about it. Like this movie was way back. Like I think it was like 20 years back, even
2001.
further.
2001.
2001 exactly.
2001, they enter the Great Hall for the first time, and you see that whole the tables and the sky and the candles in between. Like I don't know, that something about that scene is like very goosebumpy every time.
And of course, we can't
That it
forget the
is.
score, the music and everything. Of course,
Yes, that
that.
is what I was gonna bring up. I was like, that is the only thing that would have made this kind of like a cringy moment that we would look back into 20 years from seeing that movie for the first time and being like, what in the tarnation was that? I mean, that song was iconic in the book. I mean, it described all the houses and everything, but we were just thrown directly into the houses in the movie. We were like told, okay, this is Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, and Slytherin. That's it. We
Yep,
didn't get to
true,
see the hat being confused whether to put Hermione into Gryffindor or Ravenclaw, which also could have shown us Hermione's smart side.
true, true, true. But yeah, I guess that concludes our discussion with book one, that is Sorcerer's Stone, or if you are living in the Americas, that's Philosopher's
The
Stone. I don't
philosopher.
know why that is the case, but yeah. Now we move to the second book where the
It's
stakes become
Sorcerers in
high.
America.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah,
Chamber of
that's true.
Secrets.
That's true. I was making it a different way. But yeah, Chamber of Secrets. This is the
Really
book
ours
where
was.
we really turned the stakes high. Like, this is not a normal year in Hogwarts anymore. This is like the big leagues all of a sudden. And we start off like,
Yeah.
like, okay, Kanza, you go first. What did you think about the movie and how does it compare to the book?
I honestly would not even know where to begin. Like, I love The Chamber of Secrets, the book. Like, it is one of my favorite books, to be honest, but the movie was god awful.
Oh, really?
I am not a big fan of the movie, to be honest. I mean, there is so much we could have gotten, but we didn't. I mean, especially the chamber scenes that we got. I was just watching, I was like 8 or 9 years old when I first saw the movie, I believe. But even then, I was like, wait, this is not right. But if I start picking out at the movie, I feel like that would be too nitpicky for me. So I would rather you guys go first when it comes to this book.
Okay, Sabeen, what about you? What did you think about the
Uh,
movie versus book?
okay, so pretty much the same like wonder and amazement as the first one, because again we had the same director, Christopher Columbus. He overall, I would say, with the first two movies, he did a really fantastic job of bringing the whole books to life in the movies for all of us wondrous little kids. But I don't know, Kanzo, what complaints do you have exactly? Because right now, again, it's the same situation. If I start to get down to the bones and the nitty gritty of it, it's gonna take a while.
Yeah.
But
The first
so
thing
I
I would
would.
like to mention is that in the movie, Hermione already knows what the word muddirt means when Draco
Hmm,
starts using it against her.
hmm,
However, in the books, we see that Ron has to describe what it means, and it breaks his heart describing it. And he sees that he's the reason that Hermione has all these tears, because he's the one that basically has to tell her that, okay, the word that's being told to you, that what you are, this is what it means. This is what you are considered in our society. And I hate the fact that Draco was shown this way, because he was just trying to be what his father desired and what his father had ingrained into him, what being a Slytherin was about, and what being part of the Malfoy family was.
hmm. Yeah, like this is
Another thing,
probably where things start to get a little dark in the sort of the whole wizarding world politics, because we see the whole, I guess we would call it like not racism, more like bloodism, I guess. The
Yeah,
purebloods
but
versus the
for the first
half-bloods
time
and
you're
the
sort of
Voldemort.
exposed. Yeah, you're first time
Yeah,
you're exposed like, okay, there's a class system even in the wizarding world.
yeah,
And that
yeah.
class system
yeah,
is even nastier because that's something you can't even change,
Hmm.
or even
And
hide.
exactly. And then like there's a class system among the wizards and witches, and then we have the even lower level where we get introduced to probably, I guess, slavery for the first time with
Mm,
Dobby's introduction.
yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
And what's more is
But
like,
yeah, overall, Dobby. I don't know. I'm not going there. Nope.
okay,
I'm going to start crying.
for
Dobby
the
was good.
first thing, the movie did substantially better in sort of
Hmm.
encompassing all of those different things, but
Hmm.
there's of course one of those things where, of course, number one, you mentioned how the word mudblood. Now that's like, if that's the M word of the visiting world, if you think about it, and
Hmm.
that's thrown around, and the
Yeah.
person who it's targeted to who doesn't even have an idea. So it kind of substantiates like, yeah, Hermione is like, all this person who knows everything, but this is one thing that she didn't know, and that's because
Yeah.
it was never written in the books, and that's because even the purebloods know, the person saying that knows that it's a bad word. So but he still chooses to say that. So it kind of signifies at the same time, like, okay, this is what it is, and this is where we're going. And secondly, one more thing that really sort of, I wouldn't say it was like something that was missing, more like something like that was added to that. It was like Dumbledore's whole persona in this one, because if you remember in the books, Dumbledore was actually scared, like, the chamber has been opened and I have no idea how to go about it. And in the movie you get this air like, okay, maybe Dumbledore
Yeah.
knows something, he was going to do something, but he got knocked out of the school. So that is one thing, of course,
Yeah.
that just gets you. And one more thing, one substantial, crucial thing that after I read the books, because I saw the movie first and I read the books later, Arthur Weasley versus Lucius Malfoy
Yeah.
superpower beatdown, that was in the books,
Yes.
nothing in the
Oh,
movie.
the best
Like,
fight that we could have gotten.
it was a street fight. The wizards forgot their wands at that point. It was a street fight, and Hagrid had to
Yes,
pull them apart. While Fred and George were like, "Yeah, get him, Dad, get him," and
exactly.
Gilderoy Lockhart was like, "Yes, gents, go for it. Yes." He was thinking probably, they're fighting for his books or
They're
something.
fighting over me.
They're fighting over me, because that's what Gilderoy Lockhart is. And I think the perfect casting was done for Gilderoy
He is
Lockhart.
the only character. Yeah.
Gilderoy, yes, Gilderoy was
He
amazing. Like
was
Kenneth
the
Branagh
only
was.
character in the entire series that was 100% created as a copy of the character in the book. Dude that made the movie Thor
Yeah.
Yes.
was shocking for me. I was mind blown and I was like,
Yes.
this cannot be the same man.
It's a mark of how good
he,
he is as
he
an
just
actor.
abbreviated the actual director and put his name there. Like, yes, I directed Thor.
Honestly, one of the main things I feel like the movie should have gotten was the death day party that we saw the ghost having in the book.
Yes.
I feel like
Yes.
not
We
only would
needed
we
it.
have gotten more of thieves, we would have gotten a lot more of the ghost that we should have gotten.
I think we even had vampires in that party, didn't we?
Not
Yes.
in that one.
We
Not in that one. It was complete ghost party. The vampire was actually in Slughorn's party.
Oh, yes,
Sanguini.
the vampire was there in
oh
Slughorn.
right.
Yes.
Oh, but we should have gotten the death day party. We should have seen the cake and the weird food that they had at that party. But another
Yeah.
moment that I loved in the movie was how they showed the twins, the Weasleys, being friends
Mm,
to Harry when they got him out of the Dursley toxic household that he
yes.
was in. And they
Yeah.
showed up
True.
outside his window with a trunk with a car and they were like, let's get in and go. And they and Dursley fell out of the window
Yeah.
into the
Yes.
lawn, and that was just, yes, you deserve this
Yeah.
Yes.
Pretty
moment
much
for
anything
me.
that comes to them is well deserved. But yeah, I think that pretty much concludes our discussion on the second book.
Mm.
So ready to go for the third one? That is
Oh
personally
boy.
my favorite. My personal favorite is
Yes.
Prisoner of Azkaban. Prisoner of Azkaban will always have like a very special place in my heart, because this was literally the thing. Like, more than 90% of the book, you're just going like, "Oh, I hate Sirius," and then literally that 10%, "Oh, he was not a bad guy. He was actually the good one all along." But I think we in that
That
book
is
we are
where our
introduced.
trust issues in books developed, I guess.
Yes.
It's insane. So I mean, this time you go first. What did you think about the book versus the movie?
Oh boy. Okay. So they got quite a lot of things right. Thank God. Like Sirius Black, of course. Even the night bus in all of its quirkiness, that was really very well done. Cornelius Fudge is a little piece of shit. Very accurate, actually.
True.
But I am a little upset because in the books, Harry got like, I guess, a few days to spend to sort of live in the Leaky Cauldron, and he used to go to Diagon Alley. He used to explore. Like, okay, fine, don't show us each and everything, but maybe give us a little montage. Show us more of Diagon Alley. And then we got that one little bit Nocturne Alley in Chamber of Secrets when Harry goes diagonally. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think, in fact, Harry had almost a month roaming around Diagon Alley in the third book. So there's a lot of material there that they could have expanded and shown us more of Diagon Alley, like another little bit of the wizarding world that we could have seen.
Yeah,
So
one more
there
thing that
is
you
that.
pointed out, one more thing that you pointed out in the chat as well, Florian Froteschi, where it was Florian Froteschi.
Yes, his ice cream parlor, his famous ice cream, because Harry would go there for dessert or lunch every day in that 1 month that he was living in the Leaky Cauldron. But
True.
no, we get an
Yeah.
instant transition to the Weasleys showing up.
Yeah.
It was like this was the movie where you could tell that they were starting to rush things up and like cutting more and more out of the books. Like from this movie and onwards, everything was becoming sort of fast paced and really rushed or rushed over.
Yeah,
True. Kanza,
that's
what
true.
about you?
Mhm.
I wish we would have gotten more of the Marauders. I wish we got more of the
Yes.
Marauders. I wish we had gotten more backstory that would have shown how Lupin views the Shrieking Shack as his safe place when he was transforming. I wish we would have gotten more on Sirius's relationship with his parents. And
But
it
again,
was
like,
just a lot to take on, especially when they started rushing the movie.
true, very true. And what's more is, like,
Mhm.
some of the key moments I believe in the book that should have been there is like, of course, number one that was shown, like, Harry's a little, little stay or little staycation in Diagon Alley.
Yeah.
And one of the other things is the Grim that kept on following Harry throughout, especially that one match against Chu Chang, where Harry actually
Yeah.
conjures a Patronus, but turns out that those Dementors were actually Draco and, Crab and Goyle. But that was one
Yeah.
crucial moment that could have been there, and
And
like
the
you,
fact that we didn't get Shoshank in the
yeah,
Yeah. One thing I might be forgetting, but in the books, did Ron ever like show that he was noticing Hermione's appearances and disappearances with the time turner? Because he's showing that a lot in the movies. He is
yeah, but that's the thing.
observant as all heck.
It is, but that's the thing. You
Is it in
didn't
the books?
explain it. You didn't explain it. Like,
Hmm.
all of a sudden, it's weird, like how Ron is pointing out, like, why is she here?
Yeah.
Because to
Yeah.
start off, that whole thing starts off when Ron sees Hermione's timetable, and there are three subjects listed in the same time slot, and he's like, "How
Yeah.
are you gonna do
In the
that?"
books, it's really subtle,
yeah.
but shoving extra books into her bag or her timetable's really full. But in the movies, it's like, where did you come from?
Yeah.
How did you get there? Like, too obvious, dude.
I mean, like in the books, what happened was um, Harry gets the firebolt right around the time that we are in the middle of the book, I'm guessing. And he has no idea that it was Sirius that gave him the.
The
Okay, like
firebolt.
I'm stuck.
He didn't even know in the movie, but oh, they cut out the whole
No,
fight
in
that
the
Harry and
movie he did
Hermione had.
because there was a feather. No,
Yes,
because there was a feather from Buckbeak that Sirius escapes on, no? In
hmm,
the movies. So the feather
exactly.
was there, which showed that Sirius
Yeah, but he
was the
gets the
one that
firebolt
gave
in
him
the
the.
end. Yeah, because again, associated with the firebolt, like when
Yeah.
he got the firebolt right after, like pretty soon after his Nimbus was destroyed, that is actually important
Yeah.
in the bit that it was, I guess, Harry and Hermione's first ever fight when Hermione went and told to McGonagall that Harry's gotten this possibly dangerous item from a dangerous criminal who's already, we all know that he's after him. So that was
True.
like probably their first fight, and
Yeah.
they didn't. They was pretty serious at the time because McGonagall confiscated the firebolt.
And then two things come to mind that the
Yeah.
movie sort of missed out or took a creative freedom with is, number one, the Patronus shape itself. Like, we see the stag, but the stag isn't like, the Patronus instead is like a wave that's just going out, but not
Mm,
exactly the stag that's
Yeah.
just cantering about.
yeah.
And the second thing is Pigwidgeon. Pigwidgeon gets introduced during the end of the movie because that's a sorry gift, like an apology gift from Sirius to Ron, because because of him, like,
Scabbers.
Ron doesn't have
Mm.
Scabbers anymore. So, and Pigwidgeon, we miss Pigwidgeon. So, yeah, I mean, I think that pretty much covers it up for the third book. So now we will
Yeah,
proceed
and
to
because
Goblet of Fire.
we have a lot for Goblet of Fire and
We have a lot
onwards.
of Goblet of Fire, definitely. But yeah, we'll start off right
At this
here.
point,
And
yeah, at this point, we
Yeah.
should just like rename this into a rant session.
yeah, things I wanted in Harry Potter.
Yes, probably.
Okay, so now we turn to the most famous book, if you think about it, due to the events that have
Infamous.
infamous, I would say, the Goblet of Fire. So Sabeen, why don't you go first? Uh, what are your thoughts on the movie and how did it compare to the book?
Okay, so first off, the whole starting from the uh, Quidditch World Cup, Winky. That was a major plot line. Like Winky is taking care of Barty Crouch Jr. Where is my little abused and later on drunk house elf? Like, yeah, okay. And then before that whole disaster, we have I guess a minor plot line because he becomes later important to the tournament. Ludo Bagman.
Yes.
Ludo Bagman has been missing because I think he was in the Department of Magical Games Incorporation or something alongside Barty Crouch Sr. And yeah, so his storyline is sort of missing because he owed the twins a lot of money, and that is probably the reason in the book that Harry gave the twins all his winnings for the joke shop because he knew that they had been swindled out of their few savings by Ludo Bagman
Yeah.
and his gambling. So Winky and Ludo Bagman, and one more thing. In the first task, the one with the dragons. I missed this when we were discussing the first book, but where is Charlie Weasley? He showed up with his friends to pick up Norbert in the first book, Hagrid's illegally obtained.
And they
The
were all
dragon.
college students.
Exactly.
They were
Like
all college
where,
students.
like he
I
was a
mean,
dragon wrangler. Where is the coolest Weasley brother? Like, or maybe the second coolest, depending on who likes the twins or Bill. But yeah, where is Charlie? I mean, dragons. How can you miss that? Okay, fine. Don't show him in the first book, but you have 4 dragons in the first task and not a single dragon handler that we would maybe recognize. Like, oh, even like maybe Ron shouting in the audience, look, that's my brother.
yeah.
So Winky, Ludo Bagman, and Charlie Weasley. These are some of 3 things that are off the top of my head.
Kanza, what about you?
Okay, so when we read the book, we
Yes.
have a line that is apparently very popular in our Harry Potter society. Dumbledore said, "Calmly."
Calmly. I knew this was coming, so I didn't even touch it because this is
Then in the
that
Oh,
movie, we
no.
have
it's the meme now. You just say the word calmly, and the other person will know exactly what you're talking about. You just say the word calmly.
And I mean, in the
Oh
movie,
my
we
God.
have
I need to put your name in the Goblet of Fire.
No, as a
Um,
voice actor, let me just sort of recreate this scene as much as I can.
yes, please.
In the book, it was like, Harry, did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire? Simple. In the movie,
that brought peace. That brought inner peace.
Potter, did you put your goddamn name in the Goblet of Fire? Dumbledore asked.
No, it was like, even
I
that's
mean,
not
he
it.
flips it
Harry,
over.
did
He
you
pushes
put your
everything
name in the
out of
Goblet
the
of
way.
Fire?
He strangles
Like
Choke
throw the
slams
chandelier
McGonagall.
out of the way. Madam, I don't.
Madam
Leave
Maxim.
Snape out a window. Throw the chandelier away. Did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire?
It's like I don't know what kind of direction that they went with, but that calmly didn't translate well. I swear to God. They kind of need to have a talk, like, bro,
I mean,
come.
I still love thinking about it. I just picture, because like I just pictured the thing that happened in the movie in the book, and I'm just picturing Dumbledore flipping the table when he sees Harry's name on the paper, and pushing it out of the way, and just going and strangling Harry, going, "What the hell did you do?"
Oh my god, oh my god, that was comedy gold, honestly. Like just imagine, like, as soon as the Goblet of Fire like lit up for the fourth time, Dumbledore goes like, oh no, not,
Yeah,
let it
it's
not be that boy,
happening.
it is that boy, god damn it.
Okay,
Oh
moving
man.
on from this, when we talked about Winky, I mean, I feel like we probably should have brought up SPEW as well, Society for the
Yes,
Promotion of the Elfish, especially since we knew
welfare.
that Winky was taking care of Barty Crouch Jr.
Hmm.
And we should have gotten more about how this was created and what it stood for, especially since we got Winky later in the books working in the Hogwarts kitchen.
Hmm.
True.
I feel like
Yes.
we should have gotten a little more about the elves instead of just Dobby showing up here and there causing chaos for Harry
Very
and then
true.
sacrificing himself. Tears roll down my face.
Oh,
But
we'll cross that bridge later.
we'll get, yeah.
No, we will not.
And then we have the students that show up for the matches.
Yeah.
Why do we not have co-ed view buttons? I mean, we should have
Yes.
gotten
Like,
our
yes,
French
please.
men in blue clothes.
Yes. Where are our French wizard boys? Because
And
yes,
where is the Hoggy
Beauxbatons was
Warty
good.
Hogwarts song? I mean, where is that Warty song of ours? I mean, we got to see the Beauxbatons perform, we got to see the Durmstrangs, but we didn't get to see the Hoggy Warty Hogwarts song.
No, no, that
Oh
overall was a
man.
disaster. Like Beauxbatons was co-ed, Durmstrang was okay. That could have been an all-male school, but Beauxbatons was co-ed, and no French wizard boys. And on top of that, I don't know, Asad, what do you think? Like
I
the
think you guys have
tasks
summed
themselves.
up. The tasks were okay. Like, there's
No,
nothing
no,
more
no,
that you
no,
could
no.
do with them. But
Especially the second task, they are just standing there on the stands looking at water.
I mean, it was the same thing in the books as well.
I mean, it
And
could have been so boring. The only
Could have
thing,
been
yeah.
so much better.
I mean, the only thing we should have gotten was Dobby giving him the gillyweed instead of Neville.
instead of
And
Neville,
we just have
yes.
poor Neville freaking out, okay, oh my god, I killed Harry Potter. Until we
I
see
think
him
Voldemort is
performing a
back.
mermaid move and just flying out of the water straight up into the sky.
Yeah, like Neville. Oh my God, I've killed Harry Potter. Tom Riddle over there at Riddle Manor. Oh, thank you, Neville.
Like it was so easy.
But if I like, you guys have summed it up pretty well, honestly. And the tasks I didn't have much against. I mean, in the tasks, of course, they sort of missed out the key elements. For example, there was a boggart, there was a sphinx, there were things, but I can understand movie budgets
Last
sometimes don't
ended
allow.
fruit.
The
Thank
blast
you for
ended
reminding
fruits.
me. Last
Exactly.
ended fruit.
We missed those out as well. But there was one more thing that I didn't take a major offense to, but I was just thrown off a little bit, and that was Mad Eye Moody, because in the books you sort of describe him a bit different, and the movie sort of interpreted it differently. Like, for example, in the books he doesn't have a harness per se for his
Yeah.
magical eye. It's literally like, it's like one eye
Just
like
an
this
eye
big,
in
and
there.
yeah. And secondly, like, his, like, whole demeanor and everything, even though that was portrayed really, really well, it was just like this one thing that Mad Eye screwed around a lot with Snape and Karkaroff. Like, he literally had them on the edge, and that was the thing that I loved the most, because for the
I
first
know.
time in my life, somebody had scared Snape. That was my, like, my shining moment. And then, of
Yeah.
course, when you reach the end, I think this is where the movie really did well. Because, of course, while we are roasting the movie, we should also point out the things that they did well, and that is Lord Voldemort, Ralph Fiennes. We finally get to put a name to the face. But although, of course, yeah, his eyes were normal and not snake-like slits and everything, but again, that's nitpicking. And the final duel was something that was just insane. That was just
Yes.
really, really good. And then you see
Rest in
all of
peace,
that
Cedric,
effect.
our future vampire.
No,
Is he
now he's
just snowman?
Batman. Now he's Batman. Now
Now
he's
he's
Batman.
Batman
We're
for
not
sure.
going there.
But I think overall the movie, even though I agree with Samin's point, there were a few crucial plot points missing. But overall, the
Yeah.
movie did well. And then, of course, David Tennant as Barty Crouch Jr.
Oh my
That's a
god,
win.
yes.
That's a
Yes,
win.
That's when I
You,
first saw him on the screen, and then I
exactly.
looked him up. I was like, yeah, who's playing this? And that's how I got introduced to Doctor Who that I'm now obsessed with.
Exactly.
I mean,
Different podcast for that. We'll come back to that.
Yeah.
but yeah, that sort of wraps up our discussion on Goblet of Fire.
No, it
And
doesn't.
Yes.
now,
No, it doesn't. I have one tiny little nitpick to pick on.
which
Not
is
just like comedy.
Other than Hermione's pink dress for the Yule Ball. That's it. That's all I
Yes.
will say.
oh.
Yes.
That's
I
all.
was not a fan of
Moving
that.
on.
Where
Moving
is my
on.
blue
I mean,
Cinderella style dress?
it was
No.
okay. It was like, okay, well,
No.
it's good.
No.
It's good.
No. No.
No, in the books, it was such a different thing because we
It was
went from getting
periwinkle blue. I
somebody.
remember that word
Yes.
perfectly. It was
Because
periwinkle
like
blue.
it was a major transition for her in the books, especially
Mhm.
because we went from somebody with bucky teeth to bushy hair and everything to somebody that looked like one of the most popular girls that we had in Mean Girls.
Hmm.
And she was in a
True.
periwinkle blue dress, and all the eyes were on her. And it was a big moment in her life because she finally started feeling like she was part of that
Yeah.
elite group of students instead of being a mutt like she kept being reminded of.
True. True. I mean,
Have we
it's
discussed
sort of.
Ginny and her non-badassness? Because she was pretty amazing in the box.
We will get
We'll
to
get
that in
to
book
that.
6 because that's where it comes out really well. Thanks to
Yes.
Slughorn. But yeah, going to book 5, Order of the Phoenix. And now, of course, the stakes are ever higher because there is a virus out there and nobody's willing to believe it. Oh, sorry, that's real life. There is a wizard out there and nobody's willing to believe he's back. So, and anybody who says different is treated as like suspicious or trying to overthrow the ministry, which is very reminiscent of our current day situation. But Kanza, you go first. How did you find the Order of the Phoenix movie versus the book?
I love the book. I was just reading that book a couple of days ago as well. And honestly, like one of the main things, again, being nitpicky the way I am, is that we have in the books what we see is Kid Dobby uses the room to treat Winky whenever she drinks too much, the room of requirement. And he's the one that tells Harry about the room instead of never running into the room when they start forming the Dumbledore's army. Another thing would be we didn't get to see a lot of Quidditch because of Dumbridge.
Yeah.
Bitch.
Umbridge.
That was
You think we
one thing
should
that the
be?
movie that was one thing that the movie did really well. The casting, the actress
Yes.
portraying Dolores Umbridge nailed it. She made us hate her like anything
More than Voldemort.
more than
And
Voldemort.
honestly, she was an actual evil character because in the movies, even we saw her using a Patronus, and only happy people are able to use Patronuses. That means that she must have a happy memory from torturing all those poor kids at Hogwarts that she was using to cast that Patronus. So we know that she's an actual, truly evil person, and I'm so glad she got pulled away by those centaurs.
And we all know what happened after that. Of
Yes.
course, anybody who has read Greek mythology will know what centaurs do to you.
Oh Lord, no.
Uh,
I mean,
love that.
you go ahead. What do you have?
Okay, so again, this is a continuation of my need for an expanded wizarding world. Like I said, they could have expanded Diagon Alley in the third movie, Prisoner of Azkaban. But here, after Mr. Weasley is attacked and Harry sees the vision, they go to visit him in St. Mungo's hospital. And that is where we meet for the first time Neville's parents, the Longbottoms,
Yes.
in the mental damage and the long-term wards. And that's where the story starts coming out that, okay, Neville could have been a possible second option for being the chosen one. That's why both the families were targeted, the Potters and the Longbottoms. So again, that was cut out, and it was actually I don't know, it was heartbreaking because that is such a huge character development, even within this course of the movie or the book. Like, it's pretty much quite a big reason for him joining the team, the whole group, going to the ministry towards the end. Like, that is
True.
where
Yeah.
we see like a huge major leap for Neville's character, like standing up to Hermione in the first movie to stop them from going to the corridor. That was just one thing, but this is major here. Like, we find out
Yeah.
his backstory sort of.
That is
True.
So
true.
True.
again, and they even meet Gilderoy over there, and they see the effects of his backfired obliviated spell even. So
Yeah.
that's basically a little callback. But meeting the Longbottoms and seeing Neville there for the trio, that was a big thing.
True. I mean, this particular book was very like pivotal in terms of growth of every
Mhm.
character. Like not just Harry,
Yeah.
but Hermione, the Weasleys. Pretty much
Mhm.
everybody was like
Sirius,
affected.
even Sirius. Oh my God, no, we're not going to
Of
discuss
course, we're
Sirius.
not gonna go there because we
No,
all know. I
We
mean,
cannot go there.
no.
but there is one thing I would have really liked, and of course, I'm coming to the end of the book itself. But we all know Harry has the most justified rage episodes once Dumbledore has
Yeah.
sent him back to his office and is now
Yeah.
offering him
Yes.
explanation. And
He,
he has a very, very justified rage episode where he's literally smashing up the entire office of Dumbledore's and he's just throwing things.
Yes.
And I was like, bro,
hmm,
I relate with you. I
hmm.
certainly relate with you because for the whole
Yep.
movie, he was ghosted by the one man who had all the answers, or he holds in his highest regards, all because of a thing that he doesn't even know himself. And if he was
And
told, he
after
would
a
have done something.
traumatizing end to his previous year,
Exactly,
right
exactly.
after that, like, you can't just make a 14-year-old go through what Harry went through at the end of Goblet of Fire with Cedric's death, Voldemort's return, and then just keep him in the dark for 2 or 3 whole months in a summer. And like, even the Muggles, even the non-magic people can tell that there's something going on, there's something creepy.
True,
But
true.
no, we're not going to tell Harry.
And what's more is like, then you get the pensieve and everything. Of course, that's a whole different thing. And then you get Snape's memories and you're like, oh snap, so everything we knew about James Potter was actually a lie and Snape was right all along. James Potter was a bully. Like there's no going
Yep.
around it. And of course in the movies they changed it up a bit, like when Snape tries to do occlumency, he does the shield charm and then he's just projected back into his brain, and Snape just throws him away for that, which doesn't justify that at all. In the books, it was justified because he was literally trespassing into Snape's memories, which, even though if you hate a person, you cannot like deny them their basic rights. So there was that. And finally, one more thing was the duel between Dumbledore and Voldemort. I feel the
Yes.
movie dumbed it down a bit too much because in the books it was
Fair?
described as like
Yeah,
Fair?
I'm
that
trying to be
did.
diplomatic because in the books
No.
it was described as a
It's
tooth
not
and
working
nail.
so well.
Yeah, it was in the books it was described as a tooth and nail battle. If you think about it, like
Mhm. Yeah.
Dumbledore shot a curse so bad that Voldemort had to conjure a shield just to deflect it. Like he wasn't even talking anymore, and he's like, "Damn, Dumbledore, you want to kill me? Okay, I didn't know you were going there." So that
I can't believe you
substantiates
would do
that.
that to me.
And honestly, I would like to imagine, like, if Richard Harris, the guy who played Dumbledore in the first two movies, was alive, I would have really liked to see how he fared with
Yes.
Ralph Fiennes' Voldemort. That would have been a thing to note.
Bro.
But yeah, so do you guys have any more points to dish out before we move to the sixth part?
I mean,
No, I don't think
like
so.
Sirius Black was amazing. Like
Oh boy.
Gary Orman, and yeah. But,
Okay,
moving
I
on.
mean, if you're gonna talk
April.
about Sirius Black, I still think it was not the Avada Kedavra that killed him, and the fact
Mhm.
No, it
that
wasn't.
Remus says "nice going, James"
Hmm.
when he talks to Harry, it just
Yes.
broke my heart, and I was
And
in tears already. And then we
Yeah.
see Sirius fade to black when he falls into that thing, and I'm just
because
like,
in the books
okay,
it
then
was
here comes
literally
the Waterworks.
it was literally not the killing curse. It was just some other curse, which just knocked him off his balance a little bit, and then that's
Yeah.
where he went through the whale, and that's
Yep.
why Harry was like maybe he's just gonna come back, shaking his head and just like
Yep.
rejoin the fight.
Yep.
And well, this is exactly how it goes.
And the
But yeah,
way that the
That
entire
scene was
scene was
pretty well done.
silenced, the way the entire scene was silenced, apparently even in interviews that said that Emma Watson was like, Harry's screams were so loud and they were so emotional that I started to cry and I had to leave the room where they were shooting the
damn,
scene.
wow,
I mean, we could
I
see
hope
Harry being held back by Remus, but we didn't get to see any emotional side of Remus because he essentially lost the only person he considered a brother anymore.
Hmm.
somebody has to
And
say
it
stay
was just
sane
a
in battle.
heartbreaking, yeah. So it was just a heartbreaking moment for everybody involved in that moment because it was so long, 12 years of everybody thinking that Sirius was a bad guy. And they
True.
only got such a little amount of time with him, and it was just.
Before
Let's
we
move on
start
to the
and
next
grieving,
book.
yeah,
before we start
and this is
grieving
the
about
point.
Sirius, we'll go
And
to
this
the
is the point
Half-Blood
where I
Prince.
started reading fanfics, and yeah, and started thinking that Dumbledore is a manipulative little. Yeah,
Samin's just shaking herself to console herself at this point that everything's fine.
Like at
Sirius
this
is
point,
still
she's
alive
like,
somewhere.
I'm just gonna hug myself. I'm just gonna hug
I
myself.
need hugs. Yeah, no, but
So going to
this point onwards is like where I started reading fanfics, and then yeah, okay, so maybe these fanfics that are making Dumbledore to be an abusive and manipulative a-hole, maybe these fanfics have some truth in them. Let's see. Anyways,
true.
moving on.
Maybe.
Moving on to the sixth book, Half-Blood Prince. This is where I believe this is the only part of Harry Potter where they sort of focus more on the romance part of things more as compared to
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I mean, of course there are things going on and with Draco's character development and everything. Kanza, you go first. What are your thoughts?
I mean, first, I would like that we would have gotten the new Minister of Magic that we got in the books. I wish we would have gotten
Your
scenes of Scrimgeour. I
yeah,
think that's how I
Scrimgeour,
would
yes.
say it. Yeah. So I feel like we should have gotten more of that, and we didn't get to see him up until Deathly Hollows Part One in the movies, but we
True.
got him in the books, and we didn't. And one thing that actually really set me on fire about this book, just like the Burrow, was the fact that the Burrow burned down in the movie, but there was nothing that happened to the poor house in the books. I mean, like, what did the poor house do to those producers that they had to
Oh
It
burn
was
that
no.
entire
for
thing
the
down on
drama.
screen? I
It
mean,
was for
for
the
the
drama.
yeah, there were far too many protective spells that were placed around that place
True.
that would have led Bellatrix and Greyback or any of the other followers to be able to burn that house down so easily. But in the books, in the movies, they were just
We don't even get like exactly how is it that they are flying, because in the books none of the Death Eaters were flying per se. It was only Voldemort who
yeah.
was doing that, and Snape to some extent. But yeah, so I mean, what are your qualms, movie versus book?
The less said, the better, because I will start. But but yes, what Kanza said. What did the Burrow ever do to these people? And I don't know. It felt really rushed. And yes, the romance. Okay, fine. It's uh, 1-1.
Ugh. Damn, even in the books it was cringe. Even in the books at that
Uh,
time,
No.
it was cringe.
yeah.
It was cringe like anything.
Uh, uh, and I don't like. Can we speak about Ginny being a badass in the books and being a total wimp here? Not total,
Yeah,
but
Yeah.
pretty much. Because
like this Ginny
Ginny,
that we knew.
where is the bat bogey hex that she invented, by
Yes.
the way? She invented that curse or jinx, whatever it was, and
To
yeah,
protect the people and Dumbledore's army, yeah, we should have seen some sort of hint of her being the total badass feminist that she was in the books. I mean,
yeah.
she was such a bold character in the books coming right after Minerva McGonagall. I mean, we should have gotten something.
True.
Yeah, no,
But can
instead
we
we got
just talk about
1-1 and Rumilda Vane and her love potioned cupcakes with Ron Frothy at the
Ah,
mouth at Christmas.
I mean, honestly, like for Half Blood Prince, I can understand like there's a lot of challenge when it comes to it. So for example, we got to see Sectum Sempra, which was, I was
Yes.
highly doubting that they would show it in the movie because of the amount of blood and gore that it did. But apparently, of course, they took the leap of faith and they showed that. But what I have a
But
Yeah.
even then,
real,
they reduced it quite a bit.
yeah,
Yeah. I
true,
mean, in the books, it's like a rated R spell. And in the
true.
movies, they tried to keep everything PG-13 for the children that we were when we were watching it.
I mean, Malfoy was close to death with that spell. Just saying, like,
Yeah.
it was like how they describe it, like being slashed by an invisible sword, and a sword hurts, by the way.
Yes.
So, and furthermore, like I have qualms with Slughorn's character as well. Not with the actor, by the way. The actor did the best that he could. It was just that there were major points missing with Slughorn. Like, for example, his parties, his like whole like thing about like trying to handpick people and everything. You sort of miss that out, and that's sort of like the building block of Slughorn. Like he headhunts, if you think about it. So that again, it's a
Yeah.
very nitpicky thing to say
Like
about.
the one party we see on screen, it was very, like, I don't know, subdued. But the one we
Yeah,
got in the book, like I missed that previously. Like they had all, it was like a proper party. Like there was like
true,
everything going on.
true.
I mean, honestly, if you're talking about Draco, we should talk about the astronomy tower scene, especially
Yes,
when Dumbledore
definitely.
basically gets Harry to hide. And I mean, in the books, what happens is that Harry is shot with the body binding
Body
curse for
bind
the
curse.
second
Yeah,
time, and
body
he's put
burn.
under the invisibility blanket. But in the
Hmm.
movie, he's just like, go play hide and seek.
Yeah.
I mean, what was that?
I mean, honestly, with the books, I agree with you, Kanza, because in the books, because of course you're reading it from Harry's perspective,
Yeah.
so you're helpless.
Yeah.
So from the book's
Hmm.
Yeah.
point, like, oh snap, I am in the body bind curse. I can't do
Even
anything,
Yeah.
and Snape is murdering Dumbledore right away.
even
Yeah.
before that, the scene with the cave, that was an emotional scene for Dumbledore, where Harry had to force feed him that potion to empty that bowl thing, and Dumbledore kept crying out for when his
Ariana
sister
and
was murdered
Grindelwald.
by,
Yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
true.
Grindelwald and Ariana. So even that scene, that was like very low played, downplayed, sorry.
No, no,
Yeah.
I agree. It's kind of like there was so much that they could do with that,
Yeah.
but again, and we understand movies, budgets, schedules. There are a lot of factors that go into it. I mean, if it was a series,
But
then we
again,
wouldn't
it
forgive
was
them.
pretty rushed even
Could have
then.
broken us even more
Hmm.
would have been getting to see Dumbledore's funeral. I
Yeah,
Yeah.
mean,
Yes.
I would have I
but
would
didn't
have been in that casket as well, honestly, at that point, probably.
I
Yeah.
mean it wasn't
The
as
whole
grand
But I
as they
mean,
showed it. Like it wasn't like
no, we
even like
didn't
you
see
don't even.
anything in the movie.
they didn't show
We
the
just
funeral
saw a
at
little
all.
bit of the we just saw a little bit of the casket like in the Deathly Hollows Part 1. But we should have gotten a proper funeral for like one of the greatest wizards of all time that he was. We
Yeah,
should have
because
gotten the Order of the Phoenix, the Ministry of Magic. We should have seen the Order of Merlin, all the other different creatures we had in the movie that had so much respect and love for Dumbledore.
True,
it was a
true.
I
really
mean,
beautiful funeral in the books, like the whole white grave. I think it was in the daytime.
yeah.
There was a lot
I
of
mean,
white
yeah.
everywhere.
And in the movie, all we got was that one silent moment where everybody had their wands up.
Yeah,
And I
like
get
what?
that that is like a very meaningful thing, but it was not enough to be a
Hmm.
tribute for funeral of such an important character in the series.
I
Yeah.
agree. And what's more is like, you could have had, okay, fine. You don't want to show all of that, but you could have just have Fox departing Hogwarts forever. Because in the books, it was emotional that the Phoenix's
Yes.
Yeah.
song was stopped, and Harry knew that just like Dumbledore, Fox had also left
Yes.
Hogwarts. And like you could have just made it subliminal right there, and that could have done the job. But
No, we get
yeah.
another scene in the next movie where Voldemort is awkwardly leaning on top of Dumbledore just to get his wand. Like, how is he?
I mean, this just reminded me of all the memes where we see Voldy squatting over the casket and we see him floating or hanging down from the tree.
Exactly.
Oh
Like all the
man,
different ways he could be hovering over on top of Dumbledore to get his wand.
Would be
like that's
like
a weird way.
horizontal, like just hovering like this right on top of him. And imagine somebody
Like,
just seeing
dude,
that from
he's
afar.
dead. Give him his personal space.
I mean, that's a weird way of asking a male guy for his wand, but okay, whatever flies, I guess. So, but okay. So before this podcast gets a bit too sidetracked and everything, we'll go to the last book.
Too late.
And for the last book, we don't have much to add because they made two parts of it. So of course they made sure to add all of those iconic moments. But here, I'll actually start the discussion with a thing that I would have liked in the books to have happened. Because the movie pretty much followed the books, and I don't think I have any moment per se which the movie missed out, because that's the reason why they made two parts. There's so much going on. But in the books, I would have liked Neville Longbottom to fight Bellatrix Lestrange and avenge his parents. And two,
Yes.
Charlie Weasley enter the Battle of Hogwarts with a fully grown Norbert. These are the two things that I would have wanted in the book.
So Deathly Hollows is where Harry is basically hiding from Ministry of the Magic. But he has to attend Bill and Fleur's wedding. In the books, he goes under a costume of a Weasley cousin. I wish we could have gotten that in the movies. I mean, that would have just been so entertaining to watch as somebody tries to make the Minister of Magic think that this is not Harry Potter, this is their other cousin.
Yeah.
This is my aunt's son, cousins, brothers, sisters, wives.
I mean, if anything, the Weasleys are the Karachiites of the Harry Potter world, if you think about it. Like they have a massive family, and I say that because my mom's side is Karachiite, so I know for a fact that I'm saying the truth.
That is very true. As somebody that's both family sides are from Karachi, I understand 100% where you're coming from.
But aside from that,
but movie, honestly,
yeah, go on.
Yeah.
Another thing, honestly, what I would have liked is one of my favorite couples in the entire movie series, Lupin and Tonks. I wish we could have gotten more of that couple in the movie like we had in the books.
True,
where Lupin tries to abandon Tonks, and like I wish we could have gotten more of that so we could have seen how strong that bond was before Lupin and Tonks both died.
Leading up to that, when they show up in the final battle, and Tonks has very, very recently, I think maybe like a day or so at the most, or a few hours at least, she has just given birth. We have no mention of Teddy Lupin.
Like Lupin comes in with a picture, like, oh yeah, there's a picture, and Harry, you're the godfather. Yeah. And I'm like, oh man, they missed it out completely. And also Fred's death. Fred's death. Can we talk about like how that was just missed out?
Oh my god, that was when I closed the book and I threw it into a wall.
That's where you threw it? I was just Hedwig died. I threw it when Hedwig died.
I mean, honestly, I feel like Hedwig's death was still even important because that was kind of like them, J.K. Rowling trying to show Harry's innocence being gone since everything that had happened in that poor guy's life. But God, like, yeah, the Sirius, Hedwig, and Fred. These are three moments when I picked up the book, thrown it at the wall, and then apologized to the book because it didn't do anything wrong. It was the writer that was messing with me this way and breaking my heart.
Hedwig, Mad Eye, Fred, Tonks, Lupin.
Yeah. I mean, I like that the movie did this creative thing where Hedwig was actually trying to defend Harry rather than, in the books, she was just caged in. And in the movie, she actually sort of like deflected a killing curse before that killing curse sort of got her instead. But in this scenario, like, with Deathly Hallows, I think it was one of those productions where you're like, you already know, the entire world knows how it ends. But then you go ahead and Thanos Voldemort. How does that make sense? I mean, he is a man. Kansa, this was one of your points actually,
Yes.
that he's a man. At the end of the day, he's a
Yeah,
frail old mortal man who had just anchors, and those
yeah.
anchors have gone.
Yes.
Yeah, we should have
But
gotten a dead body instead of ashes floating away into the wind.
yeah,
As if
Like
you see these two
Like
people.
the Pocahontas movie where there's just like ash into the wind that's flowing through everybody's hair. Like, no, we should have gotten a dead body that they could have set on fire for all the trouble that it caused.
And
And if
danced
we're
on
I
talking
swear.
about
danced on
Voldemort,
those ashes.
and if you're talking about Voldemort, we should talk about how the
Bellatrix?
hand that Wormtail got from
Mhm.
Voldemort is the reason he's dead. He basically strangled himself in the books.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
And I was
Exactly.
just like chuckling to myself and during that scene, and I was like, boy, you deserve it after everything you've done.
Yes.
Probably
True.
should have realized I'm slightly a psychopathic person by then, but
But hey,
No, but
Wormtail sort of
also,
warranted that
no, but
reaction, I
also,
would say.
yeah.
yeah. But also during the final battle, like there's like two different battles going on. Like obviously Harry versus Voldemort, but on the side, equally just as fierce, we
Yeah.
have Bellatrix, and she is going at it with Mrs. Weasley of all people.
Yeah.
And in the movie, what do we have? Two little
Not my
spells.
daughter, you be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that was maybe in the book. I'm forgetting now. It's been a while since I've read
Yep.
that.
It's been in the book and the movie both.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
the way it's described in the book, like
Mm.
those two witches were fighting each other, and the ground was breaking apart from the heat and the magic at their feet. It was like lava cracks and stuff. So where
True.
is
Yep.
that? Like you have such a huge budget. This is such a global phenomenon of this franchise by
And you're
now.
like ending this series. I mean, the
And
ending of
you're
that
ending
series
it,
should have
and
been
you've
as
taken the time.
iconic.
Yes, you've taken the time to divide this one book into two different movies, and you still can't make the final battle epic
Honestly,
enough.
I would have gladly watched the third part if they would have taken the time to cover so many of the details that we should have gotten. I mean, we
Indeed.
True.
should have gotten Ariana Dumbledore in the movies. We should have gotten more a better ending to the Elder Wand. I mean, like, what was that?
I mean,
Why does he break the wand? He should have fixed his
he,
wand first.
I
he
know,
he
and
fixes it first, and then he's like, "Yeah, I'll just return it to where it was. Then once I die, its power will die as well." So, but in any
exactly.
case,
The,
there are a lot of
No,
cons
the
in
we're just
between.
gonna
movie, he just
break it
like
like a twig.
Yeah,
We're going to break it like
the
a twig.
strongest wand in the world. But yeah, I guess those are like pretty much what our concerns have been. But like, if you talk about more of those, like this could go on forever. But for now,
yeah.
let us know what you think about the movie versus books. Do the movies do something that the books didn't do well? And the books, of course, they already trump the movies in any ways. But do you feel like there
Yeah.
should have been something in the books that could have been done better? So with that, we leave you with our thoughts and our review and our rants basically. But let us know in the comment section below. And till then, we'll see you in the next podcast. Keep each other safe.
And we hope that you are also just like us looking forward to the upcoming 20th anniversary special that is coming on New Year's Day.
New Year's
So
Day,
Yes.
looking forward
exactly.
to that. Yeah.
Take care. Mischief managed.